Okay, I think we're live. It is very blurry on my end, so if you pop in live, definitely let me know on Facebook if it is very blurry on your end too. It's very blurry on mine, which is kind of frustrating, but wanted to come on here and because one, I feel like it's been a few weeks since I've been actually live in the Facebook group. Just been really busy with client work. We went on vacation last week, which was a lot of fun. It was our first adult only vacation. We went with two other couples, two our four good friends, and it was a lot of fun, but it was definitely different being away from the kids for, a trip like that. And we were only gone for 3 nights, 4 days, so it was a little bit shorter of a trip, which I think was nice for our first vacation away from that. But it was definitely like we were super eager to get back to them, and ended up dealing with a lot of flight issues on the way back with some storms that they were having specifically in Chicago. So we got delayed, basically 14 hours as far as our delay in our flight, and had to get a hotel overnight. So that was a whole thing. But back to regular planned schedule this week. So it was a great time. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about just like a realization or revelation I was having. This was actually like a couple of weeks ago, but I have these thoughts all the time of how can we make progress or the actions that we want to take as individuals trying to lose weight or get healthier or get in better shape. How can we make those actions more likely that we will take them without having to use as much effort? Because a lot of times people will try to white knuckle their way into seeing progress and just be like, okay, I'm going to just be more disciplined. I'm going to say no to this, say no to that, do this hard thing, which, there is a time and place for sure where we need to, okay, buckle up and pull our pants up and do the hard thing. But at the same time, if we can make the hard decision less hard or easier, then that's going to be to our benefit because our discipline tank is finite. We don't have unlimited amounts of discipline to implement every single day. So we want to only have to use it sparingly when it's needed. So how can we make these behaviors that we need to implement to see better progress easier to do, more convenient to do, and to be the thing that we naturally even think about doing? Because a lot of times people will mess up on their goals, their step goal or their workout goal or their food goal because they just kind of like get busy throughout the chaos of their day with work, with kid stuff, other life events they have going on, social life. And they forget some of these things. Like you maybe forget, oh, Wednesday's my day to go to the gym and I forgot to go. Or, Tuesdays are the days I always wake up early and get my walk in, but I forgot to set my alarm. So how can we make these things easier to do, more convenient to do? How can we make them more appealing to do as well, and make it to where it's very top of mind, to where it's one of the first things we just naturally think about doing? And you might see from like the title of this video or podcast might have something to do with treating yourself like a toddler. And this is kind of a saying I just kind of thought in my head of how can I like simplify this way of approaching our goals. And the reason why I titled it as this is because I think if we can really dumb things down for ourselves and kind of separate ourselves from our actions and realize our actions aren't always what we truly want to do, and think, okay, we're trying to fight these natural instincts that we have, and these natural instincts that we have of certain actions we just naturally will gravitate toward and take aren't always rooted in what's going to be best for us. And a lot of times they are rooted in what's most convenient or what visually we like notice first to do. I know I'm kind of talking in a lot of like vague phrases right now, but the example that I was thinking of was um, cookies and brownies and things like that that my wife will make here and there. We have a 3.5-year old. He's almost 3.5 now, which is kind of wild to think about. But I want to instill good eating habits on him. And I want him to learn how to eat mostly nutritious foods while learning how to balance, the stuff that is super tasty, that's maybe a little bit more processed, but balance it in a good way to where, okay, you can enjoy it, but we're not going to overdo it to where we either feel sick or to, obviously where it leads to health issues down the road. So teaching him that balance, right? And I'm always thinking ahead of, okay, how can I change the environment around him to get him to do the behavior that I want him to do? Not to like manipulate him, but to just to make some things easier, like brushing your teeth, having, the toothpaste paste and the toothbrush right there on the open, having his clothes all ready to go, having the maybe bathroom door slightly open. So when he's going potty or when he has to go potty, kind of gets the visual cue of, oh, the bathroom's open. I can go right inside of there. And maybe he doesn't forget that there's actually like, a toilet in there for him to use, whatever it may be. So I'm always thinking about how to set up the kitchen, his room, different environments of making, the behavior that I want him to do more convenient or easier or more natural for him. Or let's say if, it is raining outside and there's a specific jacket or coat that I would want him to wear that's, water resistant, better for rain. I'm going to want to have that jacket out in the open for him to see versus having maybe like a sweatshirt that is going to get really wet and is going to be uncomfortable eventually because he doesn't quite know, hey, if I wear this sweatshirt out in the rain, I'm going to be really wet and uncomfortable. He doesn't get the concept of, oh, this jacket, the material is better, for the rain and, whatever it may be. And one thing that I do a lot when my wife will make cookies or brownies is the container of cookies or brownies that we make. I will not have it sitting out on the counter because I know if I have it sitting out on the counter, then every time he goes in the kitchen and he sees that, he's going to ask for a brownie or a cookie because, right, tastes really good, loves chocolate. Who doesn't? And he doesn't get the idea that, oh, if I eat too many of these throughout the day, like my stomach's going to feel uncomfortable and I might get sick and I might feel bloated and I'm going to be missing out on nutrients that I could be getting from other more nutritious foods that I'm filling the place of, right? So he doesn't get that. So when we make these things, if we have the like little racks, the metal racks of cookies, I will put all of those cookies in a plastic container, big plastic container, close the lid, and put it in the microwave. So you cannot see it. And I would do the same thing typically with a pan of brownies that we make. I'll put some foil on top of them and I'll put them in the microwave. So they're out of sight, out of mind. My wife, a lot of times when she works her longer 24-hour shifts overnight, she's an OBGYN. So every so often she has to work 24-hour shifts a couple times a month. And she'll get off in the morning at like 8 a.m. And it's really fun for her to stop at this little donut shop by the hospital that she works at and get some donuts before she comes home. And whenever she buys those donuts, after I take a donut, he gets a donut, my wife gets a donut, I put those donuts in the microwave and close the door. So they're out of sight, out of mind. So every time he's walking in the kitchen, he doesn't get that visual cue of, oh, there's donuts, oh, there's brownies, oh, there's cookies, and I want some. And there's a huge difference, a very clear difference of when I have those things continue to sit on the counter, how often he asks me for one versus when they are in the microwave. When they're in the microwave, he might ask for one when they've been initially made or when my wife brings home the donuts and might not ask for another one ever unless he sees like my wife or I grab one out of the microwave and he visually sees us grab one. He remembers, okay, there's cookies in the microwave. Can I have one? But if he doesn't see that, a lot of times he doesn't even ask for a second one, even if multiple days have gone. He just totally forgets about them. And I think we can learn a lot about that of just like toddlers, little kids, a lot of their actions and their impulses are based off of just like their immediate visual environment or visual cues that they get, or, within the world, whether it's, you or just the environment. And if we take that approach or take that concept and apply it to our fitness journey and our goals and our strategy, I think it can be really helpful of, okay, some of these things that I might be gravitating towards more, whether it be, food sources like cookies or brownies or little snacks that just aren't really serving me and my goals for whatever reason. Maybe they're things that are really easy to grab a handful of and not log if you're logging your food, tracking your food, or maybe they are things that are just high calories, so they're harder for you to having limited portion size of, so you're more likely to overeat, or maybe things that are just so high calorie, like, donuts are pretty high in calories, and maybe you're in a fat loss phase and your calories just aren't high enough to really fit those things in that often without feeling so hungry the rest of the day to balance it out, to where you can't really maybe afford to have a donut every day and still stay within your calorie range, or else you're going to be so hungry and it's going to be really hard to, stay consistent there. So whatever it may be when it comes to food, put those things in a place where they're just not directly out in front of you and you see it. Like I have a lot of clients or conversations with clients around like Valentine's Day, maybe even around Easter, people buying, Easter candy or Halloween time where They're like, "Hey, like, any tips on how to manage, like, cravings for Halloween candy?" My son or my daughter has this big basket of candy that they have, and, I keep grabbing pieces, and I'm like, "Okay, well, where is that basket? Where is that bucket of candy?" And they tell me it's just sitting right out in front of the counter, like, wide out in the open. I'm like, "Okay, well, the first step, the most obvious step to really make a big difference is to put that somewhere else to where I mean, obviously your kid doesn't see it, but you don't see it either. And that way you don't get that initial impulse and that idea of, oh, there's candy on the counter. Now I have to implement this discipline to say no to it. Instead, you might totally forget that it's in the pantry up at the very top, behind closed doors, behind certain items to where you don't even have to implement that discipline at all. And that's a way to help you to stay consistent without even having to harness that discipline that, like I said, is a finite tank that we all have. We just recently, like a few days ago, we're down in the basement to get my son's Easter basket because we went to the zoo and did like a little Easter egg hunt that they had going on there. And my wife was like, his Easter basket still has candy from last year. And the reason why it still has candy from last year, from a year ago, is because we had put it down in the basement and just totally forgot about the candy that's in there. And we have eaten candy the past, 12 months here and there where we would have eaten that candy up if we saw it, but we just totally forgot about it being down there. So, like, the more we can change our environment to make these actions that we want to take more convenient or easier or more natural, the better. And that could be things like things that you don't want to do, hiding them. So, or putting them behind closed doors or putting them in a very inconvenient place to grab them. So, putting the candy maybe in the basement, going even further and putting that on the highest shelf, going even further. And, we have some like crock pots and stuff down in the basement because they just don't fit in our pantries and cabinets upstairs anymore. So, we could even put the candy in the basement on the highest shelf of these shelves that we have down there, and we could put it behind like the big crock pots where we literally would just not see it, and it would sit there for probably years and we did never have to go and get that basket again. So that's an extreme scenario there, an example. But even just putting it in the pantry behind closed doors of just your regular kitchen cabinets, even if you have it in the front, but you at least have it on like maybe the highest shelf, goes a long way. And just a simple act of having to go and get like a step stool or something to grab something down is enough friction to, even if you think about going to grab candy, you'll be less likely to go do it because you're like, oh, now I got to go grab the step stool. And you can even put that step stool in the basement to where it's really inconvenient to go get, to where you got to walk all the way down the stairs and walk all the way up, grab the candy. And then you think, okay, well, if I do that, then I'm going to have to put the step stool away. So then I got to walk all the way down to the basement to put that step stool away. Like, put those layers of friction between those habits that you don't want to implement or don't want to happen as often. And that is going to make your life so much easier. And on the flip side, you can do the total opposite with behaviors that you actually want to do. So if you want to eat more fruit, put fruit out in the open on your counter in some kind of fruit basket. Put apples, bananas, oranges, whatever you like inside of there. Put that out in the open. So when you are feeling a little bit hungry or a little bit snacky, like that's the first thing your eyes lay on, or yourself lays eyes on. And that doesn't mean every time, okay, you're going to grab the fruit, but it at least subconsciously is the first thing you see. So it's going to be the first thought in your head. Other things you can do is put, vegetables that you want to eat a little bit more, put them in your refrigerator out front in the open, like bags of salad or whatever it may be. Or, we'll buy frozen vegetables a lot because they're really convenient and they don't go bad. And we'll get like these little bags of broccoli or little bags of green beans that you can cook in the skillet, which are really good. And if we don't have them on the top of all of the like food and stuff we have in the freezer, a lot of times we'll forget about them and they'll be in there for months before we actually end up eating them again. So even us, we could put them at the top of our freezers so we see them more often. And that's going to make a big difference in us actually grabbing them more often. Other little like behaviors or tips or ways you can set up your environment too are, if you're somebody who you're trying to like get more steps in throughout the day, like, and you have a walking pad, make sure that walking pad is set up in the area that you like to walk really at all times. I have one actually in my office right now, like on the floor. You can't see it in the video, obviously, but I have one there. And when I have it just sitting in the corner and I have my desk like this lowered, because this is a standing desk, I can raise it, I just use it way less often. But if I keep it under my desk and keep my desk at like baseline raised up, like I'm more likely to step on it and just kind of casually walk as I'm doing some work on my computer. Just far more likely. Like if it's already set up, just something as simple as that. Or maybe it's, setting your gym clothes out the night before you plan to work out first thing in the morning, or filling up your big bottle of water before you go to bed at night, putting that in the refrigerator so when you wake up and you need to drink some water, like it's right there, right when you open up your fridge. You don't even have to fill it up in the morning. Even something as simple as that, taking 30 to 60 seconds to fill up your water in the morning, can be a little bit of a barrier and friction to actually doing that. Could be just preparing some of the foods that you want to eat for breakfast, just having them like front and center. So when you wake up in the morning and you're tired and you're in a rush, you just grab the first things out of your fridge. And those first things are things that you set up and plan, the night before to be ready to go for you. I could go down the list of a million different things that you can do, but the more you do these little things that don't take that much effort really, but they make that behavior you're trying to implement more natural, more convenient, and easier to do with less friction, it will go a long way with you having to utilize less discipline when that time comes to do that hard thing. And like I said, the more you can save that discipline tank for when you actually truly need it, the better, because that discipline tank is very finite and it's going to run out. And when it runs out, if you don't have these things set in place, your subconscious is going to keep gearing towards, oh, I just want to lay in the couch. Or my subconscious is going to keep gearing towards, oh, I just want to eat this bag of chips instead of fruit or this or that or candy, whatever it may be. So treat yourself like a toddler. Think ahead. Okay, how can I set myself up to implement the habit or behavior that is going to be best for me long term? How am I going to make that habit or behavior more natural for me to do? And that will go a long way. So, hopefully, this was helpful and eye opening. If you are watching this on Facebook, definitely let me know if it's blurry or not. I hope it's not. And I will see you guys in the next one.